and that they're seen and that they're heard and they can express themselves. And I think that's so very, very important. The other thing that I want to say is here in New York City, I could tell you, and I guess New York State, um, you have to be involved in you need to be involved in the local elections. One of the problems that I've seen is that we all talk about, you know, the curriculum that we don't like in the school. You know, parents show up to the PTA meetings and argue and stuff like that because things that weren't told. And I totally understand that, and I respect that too. But you know, a lot of times we are coming in after the problem, right? And I think for us to be more involved in actually our local elections where these school board people are voted on or voted in and stuff like that, that's where a lot of that matters. And a lot of people that look like us aren't there. So from what I see here in New York State, I think a lot of things can be nipped in the bud by a lot of us showing up at these local elections where the school board, the school chancellor, all these people get voted on, right? And I think that is something that we need to do at least here, so then we have some influence on what's going to go on in what the school district wants to teach, and because clearly there's some parents that they don't want their child learning about this or that, and that's understandable because parents have their own right. But I think that we have to be a lot more proactive in understanding how the system works, so we could nip some of these things um, in in the bud. And that's something that could happen, across the country. I think you just need to find out how your local school district is set up. Is it done by certain elections? Who was the one that gets voted in that has the power? And these are the things we have to show up at and make our voices known, make our voices heard, and show up in massive, massive numbers, right? And look, as opposed to what we do here in the States, look at what goes on in Europe. When they don't like something that's happening in their state or in their district or in their city, they show up in mass in thousands. We don't do that here.
And you're right, Gary. And I had a show about this, the importance of unity. And as you guys can see, all these topics link each other. And I appreciate what you said, Gary, because I know you see a lot in New York City. You see a lot.
And
So
let me
what? Go
let, let
ahead.
me let me just end on this. I used to I used to be a part of a program called Disability Mentoring Day. Dis- Disability Mentoring Day was an initiative that came out the White House under George Bush, and it was one of the major global corporate sponsors was um, Hewlett Packard. Disability Mentoring Day was done in 30 countries around the world. Here in New York City, it was represented in the mayor's office for people with disabilities, and I sat on that board, um, and I chaired the entertainment and media part. So, and what I'm talking about here is, the mentorship, being able to offer opportunities to individuals in the disability community that they don't normally get. It goes a long way because I was able to get people into doing mentorships with like MTV, Paramount Pictures, BET, Def Jam, um, and Hot 97, and a bunch of and a bunch of other media and entertainment companies here. So in that program, I was able to see and deal with firsthand, dealing with individuals who just needed an opportunity, and you give them an opportunity, and they wind up doing well. Some made it into being investment bankers. Some made it into working for some of these media and entertainment companies here. But and I say all of this to say is, the importance of mentorship, right? That is so important. So I think if we get more black men into the lives of black children, right? That then I think that would go a long, long way, because a lot of these black children, they look up to certain people, and I think that if you are a positive example in their life, you could help them go a long way. Because I know what happened with me, and these kids nowadays, oh damn sure, they definitely need it. And I end on
Thank you for that. I appreciate that, Gary. That was very valuable because it only iterates everything that's being talked about tonight. And Gary, I do want to say, because I don't want to box it, we got to stay politically correct. It's not just black men, adults, people with the knowledge and the wisdom need to get involved with these children. Because I don't want to box it in, but it is especially, I will say that it is especially needed in the melanated community, because right now we're not winning. And we're not winning, and we may be winning in a lot of areas, but we're not as far as we should be. And with mentorship, unity, the stop of colorism, keeping the money in the melanated community. Guys, I'm not just giving these shows for waste my breath. We're talking about this and learning from this. Somebody asked me a question on the show one day. So, Grace, what do you think we should do? I'm doing it. I'm giving you the information. We're having the conversations where we're trying to look at different perspectives. We're trying to learn to become better versions of ourselves. I'm doing it, and I'm getting help from all of you guys. And I just want to say thank you, because this is how it starts. Little fists can turn into a powerful punch. So with that being said, Smitty, my twin, how you doing? Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. So I know you've been hearing this. I know you've been listening to everything. What do you have to? You are a father of a beautiful, beautiful queen in training. Tell me what you have to say about this.
Salute. Thank you, twin. I appreciate it. Big guy. So, what's going on? All right, Gary. Okay. Uncle Ferg. Sir Hectic. Respect.
Yo,
Um, you know. All right. So, from my experience, and from me being in my daughter's position to now being in my parents' position, I do believe a lot of these things, whether it's mentorship, what goes on in school and everything else. Yes, us as parents, we should be very much so like vigilant, be involved, ask questions. Um, that's why Soap even know. When I was talking to him, when I was like, "Yo, I be trying to tell my daughter, call me every day when you get home from school, right?" And it's a big talk about this, but my point is, everything starts at home. So when we talking about like the home training and everything, I can honestly say because of my upbringing, I mean, have I been into some fights at school before? I mean, of course. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I've had some scuffles. Uh, but primarily, I've never been a destructive kid. I've just like most of us, I would say. I was just like growing up, you're hyper, got all this energy. And so sometimes through that, you're moving too fast and stuff happens. Kind of to the point of what Hank was saying as far as the English and stuff like that should be taught. I'm not gonna lie, big guy. I noticed that throughout those hours in school, when I got that hour for rec, like PE, I, for some reason, came back and I was like much more like, I don't know, like the way my cognitive skills work, I was just like more willing to listen. I was more on point. I felt like I got it off, because we'll have a good hour and 15 minutes in middle school for PE. And that worked wonders for me. I was more antsy before that. And I remember staring at the clock saying, I can't wait for PE, primarily so I can release because I've always been high voltage. We also have to remember how schools are set up. When we were growing up, we all remember the three forms of learning, and that was audio, visual, hands-on. I'm a hands-on learner. So the reason why, when you have this one dynamic of how school is set up, I am more so, I learn the best when I do it. You can tell me till you blue in the face. Until I put my hands on it and do it at least 3 to 4 times, it might not click. It might not. Right? Some people are very much so visual. So I do believe that the school system is not set up in a more, I would say, multifaceted when it comes to how kids learn. We all in the classroom together. Them over there visual, we audio, us in the back, we hands on, and it's a mixture. And you're expecting everybody to learn the same way when everybody doesn't. So I would say, yeah, to that degree, maybe that would be the true benefits of homeschooling. I can see it in that sense, right? Um, but I'm also scared for homeschooling because our kids are already stuffed away and got their faces in the screen enough already. Another thing that I really do believe that was beneficial and helpful for me was having those scuffles, was having those times where, hey man, go ahead, man, go over there, talk to her, dog. Don't be scared. Go ahead, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember all of these things help my social skills as well. The interactions, knowing how to deal with authority as far as the teachers and principals and everything else, and also knowing how to deal with my peers and knowing the difference between the two. So um that's really kind of all I got for that for the most part is in my eyes, regardless of what's going on in the school, a lot of that starts before they get on that bus. Before they even get on that bus, there's a lot of stuff that I did not do because of what I didn't do at home. So I didn't do it out there. We used to say that. Do you treat your house like that? Do you treat your home like that? Would you talk to your mother like that or whatever it may be? So I had all of these parameters in place. So I do believe that that kept me more so in line than anything else. But yes, my parents very much so were super involved. And that also was very helpful. And yes, my dad being there and everything else, that was the most helpful thing I could remember. Because it was definitely a massive difference in the respect qualities and just how I was treated and dealt with. Like they took a little more time and care with me. They didn't just treat me like another number. I did definitely recognize that firsthand. So with that being said, I digress. My mic is muted. Reese, bro.
Thank you, Smitty. I really, really appreciate that. And I just want to put a side note before I get to you, Simon. I've heard from a lot of men that they don't go into education because of the risk of losing their job, something harassment with the female students, of course the pay. I mean, there's just a lot of different things that make it very hard for the male gender to teach. So that's where I think the mentors should come in. I mean, we can't just depend on teachers. But I just have to say that because there's a lot of male teachers who are going through a lot of things with false accusations. They've lost their jobs. I mean, but that's the downside of shit. But anyway, Simon, thank you for coming. Why don't you give us a perspective from where you're at and what are they about the mentorship mindset over there?
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you. Salute. Um, Shout out to Embrace, Hank, Best, Smitty,
What's good,
Trey,
baby?
Gary. I just want to bring this back because this is where I got schooled on this shit. There was one day, I was working, I was doing my business, right? And in doing business like we have to put up into events. I'm talking about education. So in terms of education, I hope you can hear me. In terms of education, what happens is most of the time
We can hear you.
we, we go around different colleges and schools and we try to entice them with our curriculum, right? Because we pull up brochures,
Mm-hmm.
right? But no one really knows what the curriculum is. So the word curriculum begins as a Latin word which means a race. Okay. This is what most people don't really understand. Um, or the course of a race, which in turn derives from the verb meaning to run or proceed. It's a modern Latin word transferred into the classical Latin curriculum of running, a course, a career. So what we're doing is we're setting our children on a course or a career or a run or a chase. This is the curriculum. We as parents, we lend ourselves to teachers and we trust in teachers. But the fact of the matter is teachers are human beings. And I came across this thing where, although I was a teacher, I had a police brother on my other side. I didn't really understand where he's coming from. So I had to sort of figure out we're just humans. Like, and although like we seem to like feel people are in authoritative sort of positions, they're not. They do the same shit you do. They wake up the same way you do. They have the same bad breath. They're disputing with their girlfriends and boyfriends the same way you do. They're taking people to court in the same way you do. Like they're doing all this shit the same way you do. They dispute over shrimp in the restaurant the same way you do. I had the same issue with my ex-wife. It's the same thing. Like my family couldn't accept her because I was the first to actually like be in the position that I was in. Now I ain't come from shit. I ain't have doors on my fucking living room. I ain't have doors in the hallway. I had cockroaches on the on the damn floor, all that fucking shit. I was the first black man in my fucking family to turn around and get a damn degree and actually be amongst other people that I don't even know. I still don't fucking agree with them. But at the same time, I'm just saying we need to acknowledge what we're putting our children from. And when we're trying to act all cool and be coaches out here and go, okay, we're gonna teach everybody, school yourself. School yourself. Understand what the curriculum is, you know, and how they actually bring us through this process to enable us to be the people that we are. We're smart, we talk, right? My daughter turned around to me this evening and she said, do people in America speak English? This is a freaking 6-year-old in 2024. So what do you think they're doing right now? Do you know what I mean? That's wild. Because to me, I couldn't say nothing to her. I was like, do Americans speak? Well, maybe I need to consult with one of my American fellows. Do Americans speak English? All I had to say to her is there's different people in America. Same way there's different people in England. But to her, she was kind of confused about that. She was like, how come I watch all these American TV programs and they speak English? That's what they're telling me in school, Daddy. They speak English. So we need to zone in on what we're actually trying to discuss sometimes, I think, from my perspective. And especially when we're talking about education. We can't have a true discussion about education unless you're actually within the education system and understand what they're doing to our children without being a protagonist or turning around and going they're doing something wrong. No one's trying to do something wrong unless you're in that situation. The only reason I got into law, for example, is because I had this whole thing going on where people keep banging on about law and going, oh, there's no black man in law. Well, be in that position. There's no way we're going to tackle this. Like, and it's harsh. You know, but at the same time, there's no reason why we can't have the discussions on the sideline. But without us being in a position, a real position, and I could potentially see this in the future in about 5 years' time, because we
But
have some
Simon,
real.
not to cut you off, but we weren't talking about education. We're talking about mentorship. And this is educating our kids about life, basic survival skills, every day-to-day things.
I'd beg to question the fact that mentorship has a level of education with it. Would you not say that? Would you employ somebody as a mentor who had no educational experience?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have to have educational um education to be a mentor.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely. But
I
you know
I'd
about life.
no, I'd beg to differ that because you know if you're going to be a mentor, you have to go through certain clearances. So you need to understand the education system, and that's the only reason why I thought that way. But I digress. You know, my mic's muted.
No
Simon,
problem, but
Simon, briefly.
I just needed to bring that up because you were rearing to the left. This is about mentorship, not education. Trey Ferg happens to be was in the educational system. Hank was in the educational system. I worked for the educational system. I mean, I think there's enough education about education on this panel. But with that being said, go ahead, Smitty.
No, I was just going to say, Simon. You know, I think a lot of times we be getting this whole educational thing twisted. Um, don't get me started on how many people went to school and have degrees for something that they're not even nowhere near in that field of working right now. On top of that, sometimes the education is also in the form of the actual experience, right? What school does a military war vet go to teach you about what happens on the battlefield? Or do they come back and they just teach about the experiences when you're over there? You see? So I think we kind of get blinded by all of these like perimeters and nah, are you this? Are you that? What's your credit score? Are you married? Are you divorced? This, and that. Home. Where'd you go to school? Okay, all right. Did you graduate? Did you finish? What degree do you have? That's it. And it's like we always find some reason to negate and water down, and that's why we really can't even get the ball rolling a lot of times. And this is not something, necessarily towards you, but I'm just speaking in general to the audience that I do notice that we will like it's like the nitpicky. It's like
It's not.
real
Oh,
nitpicky.
okay. I get where you're coming from, Smee. I do, but we tend to make it too complex than we need to because, like, I wasn't even talking about the military. I was talking about the core basis of education. Like,
I get you. I
so
get you.
if you want to take it to different areas, we could take it to hospitality, we could take it to retail, we could take it to this, that, whatnot. Like, so everyone has a preference, right? That's fine. But the thing is, it's like the core education system is always the core education system. And that's what brings
Simon,
us
I
up.
get you, but I think the main thing is what the lovely host is expressing to you, Simon, is that what we're speaking about right now. So there's a whole tree. You don't pick all the fruits off all the branches at once. You go branch by branch, sir. So right now we're right here. Let's focus on where we are and as mentoring. That's all. Other than that, I mean, rock out, say what you got to say, and everything else. Your thoughts are just as important, sir. I digress. My mic is muted.
I appreciate you. And I've been a mentor and I've been a teacher. And I'm saying what I'm saying is if you don't think those if both things don't correlate, I would not let a mentor in the hands of my child the same way I would not let a teacher into the same hands because it's like that don't make sense. Like you can't turn around from my perspective personally and say you're gonna allow a mentor who has no qualifications, has no sort of experience or no sort of understanding of handling a child the same way you would do a teacher. That don't make
Hey,
So
no
what do you
Simon,
sense.
do?
Simon,
What do you
Simon.
say
Hold on,
about
wait,
basketball
Simon.
coaches? What
No,
about
no, 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 no,
basketball
no.
coaches, football coaches?
No,
They
even
don't
better.
have
Even
education.
better.
It's the
Simon,
same
Simon,
thing.
hold on. Simon, real quick. So
Let's just
with
not get
me,
too far from this
I
because we're
won't, I won't,
already
I
in the
won't, I
2 hour
won't. I
mark.
just want to say
And
one
I
thing, Gracie.
probably,
I want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing. I swear, Simon. So I think this would be a good example. And this will be quick, Gracie. I got you. What school, what training does the guy who is now, let's say my age, 41, retired? I've never been to gang, but just example, a retired like gang member from the streets, been to prison and everything else. So now this guy wants to go around and he wants to educate the youth about the dangers of the streets and what not to do and everything else. Do you say to that guy that comes to the local rec center or whatever it is, let me see what your educational status is? How
No,
do you qualify an ex-gang member to teach about what not to do in the gang? Where's that educational class at? At what university?
that's not
Matter of
what
fact, where's it at a local community college?
all right.
Can you find it at a trade school?
That's not what I'm talking about. But you do have
No,
to
you're
go
saying no, because I'm trying to make the correlation because sometimes the education is the experience. So that man
No,
is qualified thoroughly to speak about it because he real deal has lived it. He got the bullet wounds, lifting his shirt up and everything else.
all right. Are you gonna let me speak?
Rock out.
All right. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's going to be a level of qualification based on the fact that they have got to go through a certain level of
What
you
level
know.
of education does a gang member have to wear? Where? How? What?
Come on.
I don't understand, sir.
Look, you don't need to go through a qualification through university, but you have to have some sort of safeguarding understanding. You need to understand some
Oh, so
sort
I
of
got to learn
level.
CPR.
Yeah, basic
Just-
training. You need to understand that. Well, you can't have.
Well, I had to
you
take
can't-
concussion classes,
Of
CPR
course
classes
Oh,
to
you
be a
can't have-
coach.
Oh, you can't have a young person around you and not understand CPR. You telling me you do? Not? Are you saying that? For
So
real?
I took some type of education
Look,
in order to.
Hint coaches, right? Hint coaches. Look, you need to know that stuff. You need to have a level of education. Like, where I'm not talking about sort of like going through university. Like, you don't need to have all the experience in the world, but you need to have a level of like, yo.
All right, I get you, Simon, but you're moving the goalpost now. But that's
I ain't
okay.
moving the goalpost at all. I'm just saying that's where I was going in the first place.
But we're gonna
being
go.
regular Simon tonight. He ain't. I don't see nothing
Yeah,
different.
there ain't nothing new, Simon.
This is
We're
regular answer.
we're
You
used
just
to
getting on
you.
my ass. You're always getting on my ass. That's what it is. I'm cool with that. That's cool.
But we're
That's
gonna
'cause
stay on
That's because
topic.
I love you,
We're
Simon. You know, all
and
right.
we're actually
I
gonna.
just want you to be better, sir. I just want you to be the best you can be. So I'm gonna stay
I-
on
I-
you,
And that's
brother.
what we do over here. We become better versions of ourselves. But we're
Thank you
gonna
so
go
much.
into final thoughts because we've already hit the 2 hour mark, and I gave my word to Hank that I wasn't gonna keep him up too late tonight. So we're gonna go around the panel. We're gonna leave Hank for second to last, and then I'll close off. So let's just go with Best. Give me your thoughts on what we talked about today and what we right now after this show and after this conversation, what is our takeaway? What can we do tomorrow that we took away from this show tonight? Bess,
Is
you
there
there?
order or I don't understand?
I was asking Bess. Fam, you there? Going
Probably
once?
stepped away. He probably stepped.
Oh, okay, we'll go back to him, Mr. Trey Fern. Uncle, what's going on? I mean, you already went deep in it. You're part of it. What did you say? What do you have to say?
Well, just two things, Brace. I'm gonna comment on the statement that you said about guys being weary of actually going into schools and providing that mentorship. There's certain tactics that you could use if you do go into a school. If you're thinking about it, if you're talking to students, certain students, and particularly females, you never go into a room alone. You always bring another female, and you never close the door. Always stand within view of the doorway. So if anybody does walk by, they can see. And, you always put something in between. I always put a desk or something. I always sit at my desk and let a student sit on the other side. So always keep something in between you all. And if possible, if you have ability to record it on your phone, just go ahead and do a little slight recording because, you never know, but you always want to be cautious. Again, just bring another adult, a female, preferably if you're talking to a female. or a male if you're talking to a man. If you don't feel comfortable,
Okay.
you know, and it's not just
Duly
about going
noted.
to the schools. It's not just about going into the schools. Y'all have nieces and nephews, and you see what their mamas and daddies are doing. It's nothing to ask for a day, a weekend, and say, hey, let me take your child, let me take little Nug Nug, little Pookie, and just let me hang out with them for a couple of days during the week, a month. Especially if you got boys, they can always learn and get the same type of message. You know, it's good to have if you can have more than one, you can give everybody the same message at the same time, and then they can bounce ideas off each other and support each other. So just think about it. And even as someone who's in that position, it's also about learning who you are also. My biggest things were, again, some of the regulars: integrity, accountability, positive anger expression. Of course, it's okay to get upset, but how do you express that anger? You know, give them certain techniques that they can use: run, swim, box, whatever it takes just for them to exert that energy, burn that energy off. Having a vision and goals for yourself. Are they realistic goals? You're not just saying, oh, I'm going to go to the NFL, but your ass ain't working out. I'm going to go to the NBA. You ain't shooting jumpers or nothing. So you got to have realistic goals, you know, goals that are attainable, short-term goals. What is the goal that you can do this week? How about we just clean our room? A lot of young teenagers, they walk around with dirty rooms, you know, but again, parents don't engage in that. So it is what it is. And also respect for womanhood, whether it's male or female. Males have to respect womanhood and females have to respect womanhood. So, and again, even yourself, you have to be able to use yourself as an example. You can't have a stick up your butt all the time. You have to be able to make jokes about yourself. You know, I got a big blow pop head. So Mr. Big Blow Pop Head Ferguson could show up at your door. And it just changes the dynamic, because once they realize that you're not trying to be better than them and that you can relate to them regardless, you know, keep an open mind. Don't expect the kid to learn or change after 2 weeks or 4 weeks. It's going to take some time, you know, if you have that. And this is not built for everybody. Not everybody's made to mentor. Not everybody has to mentor. But understand this: if you choose to sort of just push that child aside, that child will eventually grow up and could rob you or your family, or worse. So you have to keep those things in mind, especially if you're seeing a young man, a young woman every day. It's my last story. I was mentoring a young man who lived close to my neighborhood when I was in Chicago. Every 3 days a week, I would meet with them out the school at the community center. Where he lived at, it was a gang. I live sort of in the same neighborhood, and it was a gang. And somebody came to visit me and they left their trunk open. And of course, you know, they do what they do. They went in, stole the laptop out of the trunk. So I went outside. I knew the guy was out there. So I went outside and I talked to him. He said, okay, hold on. He went and talked to whoever was his head. The head came over and talked to me, because I always spoke to him, regardless of how to speak. What's up? How you doing? So 5 minutes later, they bought the merchandise back. And they apologized. Sorry about that, man. I was like, man, no problem. Y'all do what y'all do. I ain't got no problem with that. But those guys will embrace you if you are just open and honest and unbiased. You can't judge all books by the cover. These dudes out here surviving, and they're going to do whatever it takes to survive. But, you know, again, it's not meant for everybody to be in that position. If you're not, at least still be fair and be open, you know, and unbiased, because, hey, they can come back to haunt you if you're not. That's all I got.
True. Okay, Best is back. So we'll go back to Best and Smitty, Gary, and then Simon, and then Hink, and then I will close out. Best, what are your final thoughts on this topic, and what is your takeaway? What can you actually go do tomorrow that has to do something with mentoring?
Man, I ain't doing nothing tomorrow, man. I got a bunch of stuff on docket. Yeah, I ain't gonna do that, man. I ain't doing nothing. Um, yeah, my schedule was full. Salute them three. I see you, dog. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. For those who got kids or who really involved with kids like that, man, you know, I do agree with Gary. You definitely got to get involved politically, socially, and just try to do what you can to be there for the kids, because that's what's going to really make a mark. Because there's things that's being voted into place that is basically changing the way that our children are educated. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, if we are not at those ballots, if we're not at those meetings, if we're not doing anything socially or politically, then it doesn't matter who shows up to the school. It could be the whole family. They ain't gonna care because there's already a law being passed, and once that law is passed, and everything else doesn't mean anything, right? That's one. I think also, secondly, I think Simon does have a somewhat of a point as well because in order to understand certain things, you do need some form of education. Sometimes it's not always necessary, right? So it's not for everything. You need to be educated on the material in order to mentor someone, but in some instances you do, right? So I think that overall, what I'm saying, as long as we all do our parts, I think I think our kids will be able to go in a better direction. And what I'm saying, I think that it also just starts with us just having an understanding of where things are, and knowing that each state is different. So what I mean, every state that we live in America, they have different bylaws and different laws when it comes to just anything, whether it's education or whatever else, or mentorship or whatever else. So we just need to be abreast to that, understanding that, and yeah, if we do that, then we good. That's it, y'all. Peace.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Smitty, you're up next. Final thoughts.
Um, Respect. This is actually a very, very awesome topic, Gracie. Once again, having discussions about things, that are very important that usually most of us won't talk about. So, hats off to you, sis. So, look, my perspective is just slightly broader in the sense of, but it's on mentoring. I do believe that one of the best forms of mentoring is simply how majority of the adults within that community conduct themselves. You'd be surprised, like how you move, how you carry yourself. Young guys will want to ask you questions. You know, they'll kind of gravitate to you a little bit. They may not start necessarily listening to the music that you listen to. They still gonna do their thing now, right? But they will value what you say. Um, I remember growing up as an 80s baby, like, I come from that time where, like, I remember being like 12, 13 years old. And I remember just hanging out real quick, like maybe after shooting basketball at the court. Man, this guy like 25 years old. I'm like 12 or 13, but I just remember just like soaking up information. But I also remember looking at how a lot of people in the community, for the most part, operated. So more so than putting it on a person. So let's just say all of us decided we're going to be mentors. Okay, cool. But then when the kids get done with their little 4 or 5 hour session with us, they go right back and on social media and everywhere else, they're seeing a much, much larger platform of grown adults our age acting just like them, if not worse. See, the power of influence is vicious. So I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. I do believe, at least now, not once upon a time, but at least now, like the last 5 years since I've been home, and I really done honed in and got my shit together. I do believe that I am doing a form of mentoring. The way that I conduct myself when I'm out, the way I talk to the brothers when I interact with them when I see them at the local shopping malls and stuff. So that in itself, to show them like, nah, you can still be chill, hip, cool, whatever, but you also done grown up and you also got things that you're taking care of. They talking to me about where they getting ready to go holler at some chicks. I'm talking to them about how I'm about to go get some groceries for the house. But I can still talk to them, kick it with them for a quick second and go ahead and move about. How I conduct myself is a form of mentoring, and maybe a lot of us are doing it and we don't even realize it. But with that, so with that being said, awesome topic, Gracie. But last but not least, to land it, I think mentoring is also really hard because a lot of parents don't even be wanting their kids to go spend the night at some of their friends' houses. And because you're talking about parents just like kind of trusting adults again. And unfortunately, it's so sensitive out here now. A lot of us, man, we got relatives we won't let our kids go to. You ain't going over there with their ass. Seriously. So it's that, so it's tricky, but I don't have all the answers. Wonderful show, Gracie. Rock out.
Thank you. And before Gary goes, I did bring that up, Smitty, that in this generation it's not about do as I say, but do as I say, but not as I do, because they're watching us. They're watching what we do. So you're absolutely right. You don't have to do something, to just talk to somebody. Somebody asks you a question, don't be so quick to be dismissive. Talk to them. Give them the knowledge. Stop being selfish. It could be the most minute thing, but it could be so big for somebody. Just wanted to piggyback on that. Gary, I appreciate you coming. You brought a lot of value to this conversation due to the fact that you were on the board of a mentoring program, and you got an inside peek at it. And are you educated? Did you go to college for that?
No,
I'm just asking. Okay, I'm no, that's it. I'm just asking, but go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
So what I'd like to say is that in my experience, I guess going from the street, dealing from the street all the way up to corporate, anybody that has experience can be a mentor. I think it's very valuable information. These kids out there now, they definitely, they know what's up. They know who's real. I think that what we need to do is show up a lot more, but show up and be proactive, not
That's a start.
right? We got to know where we have to be proactive at, because once we're proactive in the beginning of certain situations, then everything else can work out in our favor, where we could have a little bit more control over. Unfortunately, we've always reactive, and that's
After the fact.
right, and that's why we're always behind the eight ball. There are programs out there now, and actually, when I was dealing with the Disability Mentoring Day program, and this was almost 20 years ago, there weren't a lot of mentoring programs out. Now there are a lot of mentoring programs out, and a lot of programs and starter kits and stuff like that people could actually go and use if they want to really get into it seriously. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be that far. But look, if you have some type of experience and you have young people that look up to you, then you could be a mentor with them. I can tell you, anytime that I go out and speak in terms of dealing with the entertainment industry, that's what I do. I get so many teenagers coming up that want to come and talk. They want to find out more. I even get some of the parents that come up and talk with me, because these young kids, they know the real deal, right? And I think when you're able to talk with them and talk with them real, they're willing to listen a lot more, right? And I think that that's very important. And also too, as we all know, we're in a whole new world in this online media, right? And we really have to be able to talk to these kids about the effects, like what you're seeing, what they're not seeing, and kind of put it into perspective. And a lot of that is not happening, right? A lot of that is not happening, right? Because every time we turn around, we see these videos going up about how men are not doing this, or black men are not doing this, black women are not doing that, all this stuff, right? So I think there needs to be the real conversations with these kids and these young adults, letting them know, hey, what you're seeing on the internet, this is not what it really is, right? And when you can explain to them why, when you can explain to them that you've experienced this, because I could tell you with some of my nieces and nephews, when I talk to them about stuff and they try to sort of pull a fast one, and I let them know, here's how it plays out. And they're like, holy shit, how did you know?
Been there,
Right?
done that.
Exactly. So we have to let them really know that we have the experience, right? Tell them, let them sit, and sort of explain. Now, some will get it, some won't, but just know they're going to always come back to you and want to talk and want to, and they'll have a comfort level with you where they'll be open to doing a lot of different things. And I think those are the real conversations that is not happening now in this whole new world of social media. So I think with the mentoring, we got to take that. We got to go a little bit. We got to go a bit further now than maybe 20 years ago because of social media.
Absolutely.
Right? These kids, they're on their phone all the time, like all the time. Right. So, and if you're able to get their attention, you got to let them know and kind of decipher for them. Right. You got to be that person. And I land my plane.
Thank you for that, Gary. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the information. All right, Simon, keep it short, sweet, and simple, because Hank still got to go, and then I still got to go. Okay? What say you about everything we talked about tonight? Stay on track, please, sir. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no, I think Smitty was talking sense. I think like
Gracie learning.
Smitty was talking sense. Like we are mentors, and we have to be. Like, and if you're a real man, you're gonna be a mentor anyway. And it don't take you like getting a contract or being in a position where someone else is telling you you're a mentor. Like you gotta be that role. Like that's your position. That's why most of us are taking up this position. It's natural. It should be natural. Unless like like you see a lot of things and you can tell that like okay, they're not real coaches and all this sort of stuff. You get what I mean? Some people say some things and we will have the conversation and go back and forth and try and check exactly what they're up to because we feel a certain type of way about it. We're passionate about what we do. It's like we're dealing with real people, especially if we're parents. So that's all it is. And that's all I'm gonna say right now because I could go into this, but you want me to land the
I
plane now?
appreciate that, Simon. And Hank tells me that he appreciates that too. All right, Hank. I want to thank you for coming tonight. It was an important show. It needed to be talked about. It got a kind of a slow start, but that's fine. We got through it. But thank you for coming. Thank you for your experience and your knowledge. Give me your final thoughts and anything else you feel you need to say, sir.
Shout out to Simon for keeping it short but sweet. Right on, Simon. I guess my thing is, let me challenge every man, not only on the show but out there in the world. If you have time, if you have the opportunity, mentor. If you have the time, and if you had the opportunity, mentor a young man. That's my challenge to every man. Get that opportunity, do that, give back in some form or fashion. It doesn't have to be something you do every day or every week or something like that. If that means you just doing it, once a month, do that. Take some time out of your schedule, your busy schedule, and find some time to give back. You'll see the difference, not only within the individuals you're mentoring, but with yourself. Because some of those things you're going to be sharing and teaching and educating these kids, you're reminding yourself of what you know and what you need to be doing and make sure you're on point. You understand what I'm saying? It's a friendly reminder to yourself. When you hear yourself say these things, you're not only teaching someone, you're reteaching yourself.
So do that. Do that to help you become a better person, be a better a parent, a better educator. You know, because you don't have to have a degree, unlike what Simon is saying. You don't have to have a degree to teach and educate someone. If you have knowledge and experience, there's all type of form of teaching and educating. So be willing to do that. That's one of my challenge to the men. But the last thing I want to say is be involved. Be involved with your kids. I know Brother Smitty was talking about, and I think somebody else kind of touched on about social media and all this. All that's true, and we're dealing with it right now. But one thing you can do is when you have the conversation with these kids, and I think it was Gary saying that. Let me make sure I get the credit what the credits do. Make sure you are presenting. It's like, hey, you know they're on social media. Why don't you ask questions like, what are y'all watching? What y'all into? What y'all checking out? What's your interest? Why are you watching? What on YouTube are you watching? And then maybe take a glance at it and let them see, and then give your perspective as a more mature man or woman, and help them kids out. Educate. Hey, yeah, this ain't what you want to do. This stuff ain't how it gonna end for you. Just because it happened on there, it could be a skit, it could be an act, it could be a front, a fraud as well. More likely, it's probably not real. They're not really living like what they actually portraying. So educate the kids. Let them know what it is. That's what I did with my son. You know, I don't believe in privacy. You in my home. This is your room. You born this until it's your time. And then I want it back. So no privacy. I come in here anytime I want. Now, with my daughters, out of respect, I knocked on the doors to make sure they was decent before I walked in. My son, I just walked on in. We got the same goddamn thing. Ain't shit you showing me or you got that I ain't got. So I just walk in, and there's no privacy. And so he's watching something, I'm watching it with him, and I'm taking it in. And now, after we watch it, or it's over, or he's done watching it, we talking about it. Now, why you like watching this shit? What's interesting to you? Why do you like watching somebody else play Madden? Why don't you play it yourself? Well, and he'll explain that. It gives him an opportunity to explain himself, to educate me on the situation. Man, why do you like watching other people eat? That shit's sick to me. But that's what you like to watch. I need to know why. Why do you like watching this bullshit? I want to know. So now I'm telling you, man, dude, you better not ever do that, cook all that food. And we ain't doing that here. I don't know who sponsors them. They done. But that's them. We're not doing it in my house. So we're not cooking a bunch of food so you can golf down and scarf down. We're not doing that. So don't. Why are you watching this? And so he's educating me while he's watching it. I'm educating him. We're not doing this. That's not feasible. But that's me being involved. Me make sure I participate. And I'm like, well, do your other friends like this? So now I'm interested in knowing about all his other friends and their interests. And so now when they come over, or when I see them, I have a different level of conversation I can talk to about. Man, look, he told me you like watch. You watch that shit too? Yeah, I do. Oh, okay. Well, why are you watching? So now I'm educating, now I'm teaching them and spreading the knowledge out to others. Because why? I got involved. I paid attention. I participated. I made sure what he's taking in is what I need and want him to take in. And what he's not, I need to let him know, man, look here, that's a bad investment, what they're doing. That's not good. That's not real. Whatever. But you got to be involved. Whatever it is, however you got to do it, make sure you're involved. I'll land it there.
Thank you so much, Hank. And just like Mr. Lee said, I can imagine you saying that. Why are you watching that shit? And you're right. You're right. We have to get to know our kids, just like the kids are getting, because they're getting to know more and more of us as they get older. And you're absolutely right. Again, I want to thank everybody on this panel. It was a slow start, but we got it going. I mentored today. I talked that mom into not letting her son have that Reese's Pieces. I'm telling you, I take anything into a teaching moment. And if I could show somebody but I do pick my battles wisely, because you can't do it to everybody. Everybody is not going to be fit to come to this journey. Everybody is not. You can't save everybody, but you got to at least try. You got to be like Hank and Gary said, and everybody else. You got to try. You got to get involved. You got to be more active. Like my old man used to say, God bless him. He used to tell me, you got to make a move, even if it's the wrong one. But you got to make a move. You can't be a lump on a log. And we got to start making more moves. We got to start talking more to our kids. We got to put that damn phone down. I mean, I remember when me and my son, we wake up in the middle of the night, we foodies, and we go to Denny's and go have breakfast and go home and go right back to bed. But we had conversation. We would talk. Does it get less? What was that?
You reminding yourself of what you know.
Exactly. So with that being said, guys, my final thoughts, a mentor is someone who acts as an advisor to the less experienced individual known as their mentee. It is important as us old heads to get more active and involved in young people's lives, because it is necessary, it is needed, and actually it says it in the Bible, guys, that it is our duty as elders that we pass on positive and productive knowledge and wisdom to the youth, so they can become better versions of themselves, while we are also becoming better versions of ourselves. So with that being said, guys, always remember, embrace yourself and embrace each other. Y'all have an awesome night, and thank you for coming. Hank, I appreciate you. I'll talk Men's Month in June. I got a lot of good topics to make aware of men's issues and men's health in the month of June. So I'll be knocking on the door then. Okay, sir? Have a good one, everybody. Thank you very much. Take care.